from the Department of Conservation, and there's quite a group of us here from the department, and we're all going to be presenting little bits of a bigger picture. Next one. So I'm going to be talking about NHMS, the Natural Heritage Management System. So this has been around for a few years now. I'm sure some of you have heard of NHMS, and it's actually a lot of people think that NHMS is just a database, that we're expecting to get this big new database. But in fact, NHMS is bigger than that. It's not just the database, it's the entire system that we're trying to develop a system so that we can do exactly all the things you guys want to do, so that we can collect our data more consistently, so we can store it better, so that we can analyse it, so that we know whether what we're doing is making a difference or not, and so that we can improve the outcomes for biodiversity. So it's an entire system to try and manage our data and processes better. So it's multifaceted. And the people here, we're all going to talk about little bits of it. So I'm not trying to give you some sort of overview or something. It's going to be a bit disjointed because we're all talking about sections of it. So I'm going to start by just talking about what I do, and then I'm going to briefly mention some of the other projects that I'm on. So my job is, at present, is looking at our data and seeing how we can get it ready for our biodiversity data, how we can get it ready for a new database. And that involves how we collect it, whether we want standards for, or we need standards for, we're collecting things and putting them into data sets that are standardised. So I'm looking at DOC's existing data that we've got in Excel spreadsheets, mostly in our document management system, and I'm looking at paper stuff that's lying around. So I've become interested in the WUI data set and the SSWI one. I see the question about Dataversity recently, getting feedback on that. We also have inadvertently developed the deer pallet count database, but this is just for derived data. We commissioned Lynnette to do a report on deer numbers in New Zealand over time, and we found that the actual raw data is all lost from the deer pallet counts. But they ended up building a database to hold all the information that we could get from old reports. And there were 340 old reports. But most of the work is going to be looking at data standards and templates. So that's what I do, but it ties in really closely with some of the other work that's going on in NHMS, which is the toolbox. And so the toolbox is a document on our intranet, and that helps guide people through if they're wanting to do some sort of inventory and monitoring, helps them choose a method, and then has descriptions of the standard method for how to run it, and in some cases how to store the data. And the intention is to make that publicly accessible so that other people can have access to it. And we have no problem with it. If you know someone in DOC who can send you bits of the toolbox out, then that's fine. We've got no problem with sharing it, it's just we don't technically are not able to do it through the internet yet. But it is planned.
It's in development too, isn't it?
Yes, but I understand it. The intention is to do it, but they just haven't had time to get onto it. And the training, we have a variety of training courses training people on methods that are in the toolbox, and those are publicly available. And there's, there's blue writing there with the web address. Anyway, if you go to the DOC website, you can find the training. It's all right, doesn't matter. Next one. Okay, so that's talking about what I'm doing, but there's a whole lot of other stuff going on, and I'm going to talk briefly about it. So we have species and ecosystem optimisation happening. The species optimisation has been going on for a year or longer, a year or two, and this is an expert-driven process. There's a team who have gone out and interviewed the expert on every threatened species in New Zealand, and they asked them where would be the best place to save the species, like where in New Zealand, a polygon, and what would you do there? So pest control, build a fence. So it's really specific, and we end up with a prescription for each threatened species. And it's broken down into actions, and they're all costed. And that's been done. We're just checking the actual, that it's all correct. And then we end up with a list of species. And if we're given so much money, we know how far down that list we can get. And if we get more money, we can get further down the list. So it's very transparent. And I understand there's been discussion to the Regional Council and Tasmania State Government over running similar processes. And the next one. So now the ecosystem optimisation process is starting, so that's the same, it's choosing where would be the best place to save various habitats or ecosystems in New Zealand. And they're just starting the interviews on that one. Again, they're finding experts. And an interesting thing that's come out of that is Nick Singers has been working on a classification list for habitats or ecosystems. So I remember there was discussion at the last Dataversity meeting that New Zealand doesn't seem to have a satisfactory list that we can use to describe ecosystems. So Nick has gone through the literature of the existing classifications and melded all the previous ones together to try and produce something that covers the whole of New Zealand. So it's not just vegetation, it includes sort of geological things as well. And it's a sort of a tiered thing. It has a broad category and then you go down and then there's a finer category. And the good thing about it is that it has really good descriptions, so he's working on describing all those categories really well. And the intention is to get that published in some sort of peer-reviewed journal so that people can use it and so it can be an accepted method for New Zealand. So once they've done the optimisation for the species and the ecosystems, and they're both costed, so then they align them, the two processes. So if you've got some threatened species in the same place where you've got a special ecosystem, then you don't have to build your fence twice, so the costings are aligned. And the contact person on that's Richard Maloney.